I keep hearing people say that the CIA was orchestrating a coup with Prigozhin to remove Putin from power, but that just sounds absolutely crazy because although it would be something that you say you never know because we did hand all of that weaponry and hardware to Afghanistan and they all laid down. They all just handed it straight to the Taliban. So if they repeat this same mistake, I mean, it would virtually show how incompetent the whole Biden administration is if it really was a coup. But it was not a coup. It was not a staged ploy to attack from the north. For one, they already did so when they entered the Belarusian border when they first invaded Ukraine last year. Ukraine was heavily manning the north in anticipation of another invasion from the north. And for one, Russia lost bigly when they tried to invade from the north. And if Putin cannot even secure his own border from a coup, from insurrection, then why would he want to fight a war under two fronts? Well, if you really were to stage something like this, if it were really staged, why did Prigozhin down three helicopters? You can stage a coup without having Prigozhin having access to your to one of your missile systems to launch down three helicopters. So is there is a well, not everyone, let's say this, but there still is quite a bit of people that are not happy with how the war is going. Prigozhin was upset that he wasn't getting supplies, that his troops are placed in the hardest battles, sustaining the most losses. So even though Putin granted him a you know monopolies, because that's what it is. It's oligarchy. They hand monopolies to all of their pals. It really, basically, mafia men run the Russian government, so to speak. He's a billionaire. He extracted minerals from Africa. He made a lot of money. Having a state-sponsored monopoly. So, but one thing Putin wasn't going to do is he wasn't going to have give up his power, basically. So why did he stop the insurrection? Well, for one, most of the Russian army is not fighting in Ukraine. Most of the Russian army is in the country of Russia itself, the Russian military. He underestimated just how many people did support Prigozhin. So he didn't have the backing of everyone inside of Russia. Uh, the Russian planes, the Russian air forces were just going to torpedo them. So they're really walking into no man's land. Uh, I suppose his family did get threatened. Why did he lay down so easily? I think it had mostly to do with how screwed he was. Really underestimating his logistics to make a coup possible. Well, was he going to go after Putin? I don't know, but was he going to try to take out uh, some defense people, some defense ministers inside Russia? Yes, I can buy that. But if he had those people killed because they're yes man for Putin, then he's dead as well. So I think it's going the whole distance to take control of everything in Russia. But then going back to the idea that no, this is not a coup. No, because uh, we're not going to repeat the same mistake. No, it was not staged by Putin to enter the Belarusian border because they've tried that before. He's not going to fight two fronts because Russia's losing the war. Uh, Going back to that, um, Well, first of all, where is Prigozhin right now? We don't know. Putin may need the Wagner mercenaries if he's going to lose the rest of the war. There's the Chechens. There's the Chechens. He may need them if they're to win this war. He could have paid off Prigozhin. Really don't know what's going to happen because the areas that he took over, did they praise him right as he was taken away, or did right when he went in that car, or were they cheering right as he took over the city? So these are real questions. You don't know what to believe because first enemy of war is truth. There's a 6 billion accounting overestimate, or underestimate. Did it go straight to Prigozhin orchestrated coup? No, because there's infighting happening in Russia already. There'd be no need for the CIA to orchestrate a coup because Russia is divided amongst itself. There's no honor among thieves. If Putin is going to lose whatever these oligarchs have because of sanctions, then they're going to dispose them very quickly. But then propaganda is strong in Russia. He has such a vice-like grip on the secret police, on the FSB, that Putin's not going to go down easily without a fight. But he certainly is losing control. This cannot be some master plan to attack from the north. I mean, that's not happening. Uh, Other groups will certainly take advantage within Russia that if he were to fight a war on two fronts, the Russians cannot secure that border. That is a weak border, and Putin can be disposed at any time. Some of these oligarchs have private armies. I mean, anyone can turn against them anytime. They're just going to pick the right time. And is Prigozhin a dead man? Yes, I think so. Yep. Putin doesn't want him to orchestrate a rebellion. He made him give up all their hardware. Prigozhin and his men are going to be forced to work for the Russian army. Russian military men are going to be right behind the Wagner group. If the Wagner group tries to run, if they try to incite a rebellion, then they're going to be shot down. Putin will have the Wagners help him out. Right behind the Wagners are going to be the Russian army guys that are ready to shoot them down if they don't fight. And with that being said, we would be very insane to give Russia to Prigozhin because he's a murderous thug. He's a mercenary. He is a brute. He would be worse than Vladimir Putin. That's why it'd be absolutely crazy to try a coup, which just House divided is going to fall. They're going to fall by themselves. Now, is a regime change possible in Russia? Well, in the ideal world, like after World War II, we can run and operate the Russian elections. They gave the Soviets, they gave the West control of certain parts of Berlin. I mean, they divided it up. So I think that we can uh, free Alexei Navalny from Russian prison. In ideal world, he's elected, but if it were anything other than oligarchy, Navalny would be assassinated. So if we were to try to set up a new Russian constitution, what have you, antitrust enforcement would just not be possible. It would be kind of like here in America. It's a quasi democracy, it's a corporate oligarchy. Corporations control the elections, they control the politicians, they do their bidding. So I think that a similar system, if it were to happen, uh, you would have a guy like Navalny or whatever be elected, but then the oligarchs have the power. The Russian oligarchs give the money to the politicians to let them keep their state owned monopolies. That's what would be the case if we were to go in a direction and not have outright murderous thugs run the Russian government. But then, if these guys do not have a government that represents their individual interests, then you know, since it already is set up like a mafia government, if Navalny were to try to strip these oligarchs of their power to have real antitrust enforcement, then he would be assassinated. That's what hypothetically would happen if he were to run and win an election in Russia. So I'm highly skeptical that regime change is possible to have real democracy in Russia. Although hopefully we can go in the right direction to not have a murderous thug like Putin or Prigozhin in a power, but they are losing control of the war very quickly. Vlad hasn't lost his power. Uh, he broken promises. The war is going to be over in 3 days. They're running low on supplies, low morale. The winter is going to come soon. Ukraine keeps standing their ground. Although, is it possible that Zelensky is just pocketing the money to enrich himself? Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It would not surprise me at all if he does. I support Ukraine, but I don't support Zelensky because this guy is just gonna he's gonna pocket money for himself. I mean, that guy's a criminal. That doesn't mean that Russia are good guys, even though Zelensky's a criminal. Zelensky, I think, is gonna steal our tax money and put it directly in his coffers because he is a billionaire, by the way. But he's getting all these TV interviews. Russia can know where he is, but why hasn't he been gunned down yet? I'm convinced no one is supposed to go anywhere near Zelensky. I mean, this guy is an actor. He was an actor before he became politician. I think he was a historian too, but this guy's a rat. No one's supposed to go anywhere near Zelensky. This guy is funneling all the money. I think he is. So yeah, they're all crooks. I think Zelensky's a crook. He didn't invade a sovereign country though, and Putin has had a lot of people killed over the years, and he was very deluded. This is how I predicted the next big global event to be Vladimir Putin because he is the modern day Hitler. And the right wing had it all wrong again. Putin wanted Donald Trump to destabilize NATO so he could make it easier to attack. Donald Trump had a bunch of debt with Russia. They've laundered money to Donald Trump. These Russians who rented condos from Donald Trump, rented rooms at Trump Tower. Right wing should not be trusted at all. Putin is not a strong man. He is actually very weak. He was so quick to leave Russia or about to leave Russia, to get his plane ready to leave Russia, when it was evident that Prigozhin and his men were going to be marching towards the Russian capital. He almost got overthrown by a chef because that's who Prigozhin was. He was a personal chef before he became a very rich mercenary. And then he loses a war to a reality TV actor. This is Trump's idea of it's bright man Vladimir Putin. No, I support the invasion of Ukraine. Vlad's a good guy. He's got it under control. Don't worry. That right there, Donald Trump incited insurrection because I lost an election. Donald Trump downplaying a COVID, killing thousands of Americans, playing golf while we're in crisis, stealing documents from the government, refusing to return the documents. The documents were at Biden's home, but then he immediately returned them. Donald Trump did not return them. That is the difference. This guy is not fit to run for president if he works for Saudi Arabia and Russian oligarchs. He was always going to invade Ukraine. Putin always installed Trump in there to try to weaken NATO so he could make it easier to retake all the Soviet territories. Not that it was possible to begin with, because that outdated weaponry is just very weak. That outdated weaponry from the Soviet era. That's why Russia and China canceled weapons contracts with Russia. Vladimir Putin always wanted to retake the old Soviet Union. He was born in 1953. He was part of the old KGB. Well, he was just a paperwork guy. He maybe really wasn't really an elite spy. Some people say he was just a paperwork guy. But he wanted to take back the old Soviet Union, but the younger Russian generation were living in the modern world. Never had the support from the 20 and early 30-year-olds, and maybe it's like the late 30s, 40s, whatever, that grew up under the Soviet Union. But then, if you're 40 years old, 1983, the USSR tore down 1990. I mean, yeah, we had to send food aid over there. Maybe life was really bad. Their parents were telling them that it's because the Soviet Union fell. But younger generation, they want nothing to do with this. They have family in Ukraine. They travel to Ukraine. They've experienced a world of market trade, free from barriers, free from the barriers of the state. Four-tenths of Russia never wanted to go back to the old USSR. Putin said in 2005, collapse of USSR was the greatest catastrophe of the 20th century. So we knew this was going to happen. All the people slurped at Donald Trump, completely ignored all the warning signs, all the facts, because of some demagoguery like America becoming less white. That's why they supported Trump. That's why they had unwavered support of Donald Trump. Now, as the West, because of importing migrants and all that, why would they support someone like Putin? Because it's predominantly a very white, homogeneous country. Maybe that's why these Donald Trump people out there support Russia so much. That's probably why they do. But Prigozhin is dead. Vlad is dead. Putin will try to keep hold of his power, I'm sure. If it's clear he's going to lose the war, that he's just going to take his armies and leave and go back to Russia. There'll be assassination attempts on his life. Putin already has a successor named if the event that he's no longer here. The war is lost. The mighty Russian army cannot take over tiny Ukraine. Mad Vlad the putrid, Mad Vlad the imposter. Is he really the strong, ruler? They're all strongmen. All these dictators are strongmen. He folded very quickly. He needed Lukashenko to call the two men that breached mutiny. It is just a detention camp. It's a detention camp, and anytime Putin needs these guys to follow orders, they work for Vladimir Putin, not for Prigozhin. The war is surely going to be over very soon. It is practically over. The only question is when.